I looked at the streaming numbers, the OTT numbers of different platforms, and how much different platforms charge. Can you just like tell me like Hotstar is how much, and the number of the average that a user is paying?
See, but now by that, this time I'm like essentially giving you the Hotstar revenue, right? I think the way you want to do this, the way you want to do this is look. There's a BCG meta report, right, that says that the streaming subscription kind of business in India is about 2 billion.
Together.
All players, all in.
So
ads
the biggest
plus
players are
us, Netflix.
you, followed by Netflix.
No, I think Hotstar is the biggest, right?
We are
By
the
country,
largest, but after us will be Netflix. I think will be there. Not in terms of number of subscribers, but I think because their ARPUs are much higher. They have about 8 to 10 million. So there's us, then there's Amazon Prime, Sony Live. I think these four are the main players. Now Jio is clearly in the mix, and they will grow and are growing.
So 2 billion is the
There are about
combined.
48, depending on which source you believe in, there are about 48 to 50 streaming players in India.
So this 2 billion number is the combination of
Subscription plus
advertising,
ads. Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. But in that same report, interestingly, they say that the kind of video media business, so that actually includes...
Social media, I'm guessing.
No, it doesn't include social media. It includes television, includes streaming, includes movie studios. 2022 was about 12 to 14 billion dollars in India.
12 to 14 billion dollars
Yeah.
if you add what?
Television, movie studios,
When
streaming.
you say add television, what do you mean?
As in so
TV
the
revenues.
TV business, TV revenues. So TV revenues are ads and distribution. Those are the two main streams.
I think what he's saying is Star plus Disney Hotstar, Viacom,
Satellite.
Colors plus.
Oh, yeah. But I think TV revenue we have to leave aside. I think OTT and TV revenue are essentially different, right?
They're different.
In that way.
But the size of the video kind of
Market.
business in India, but you have to include TV in that, right? It's sort of, it's linear. I know it's not digital, but that's kind of where everybody starts from. Shah Rukh started from there as well, since we were talking about him.
Right. So
That's about 12 to 14 billion dollars.
put together.
Put together.
And how is this number, the 2 billion and the 14 billion, growing year on year? What was it 5 years ago?
Much smaller.
The combination was smaller?
Yeah. Combination was definitely smaller.
I mean, 5 years ago, was Netflix even live?
No,
6
it
years,
was around.
7
It was
years,
around.
yeah.
But
Very much
Netflix component is 2 out of 14, right?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. It was there. See, India has historically been a television market.
I read
TV
somewhere
heavy.
that there are some 600 million TV sets in India. Or the
107.
access to TV sets is for 600 million people.
It's the reach of TV, because you have to include free dish as well, right? Like the reach of TV is about 800 million people. 800 million people at some point in time during the year are watching.
So just from my understanding, if you guys are at 40 and you're the largest, sum total of all the other aggregators would be around another 60, 70?
So
Just
there are
on SWOT, not on
the
AWOD.
size of the number of people who've paid subscription at least once at any given point in time is anywhere between 80 to 90 million people.
So just look at that. So if you're talking 80 to 90 million and 800 million on TV, there are two ways, I guess, to look at this data. One is how small the actual OTT business is in absolute terms. The second part, which will, I guess, at some point in time segue, is the opportunity that's sitting ahead of us if the creator and platform game becomes synergistic. You're talking about close to 1 billion people. I don't know if there's a continent across the world where that you have that
But
growth size
I don't think
available.
that's a fair extrapolation
Is
because
that?
the
I'm just
ARPUs are completely different.
Yeah.
If I had
So I'm saying I'm
1/10
putting AWOD in it as well.
if I had 1/10 the number of users in America, but they're willing to spend 20 times as much on average, that market is, from a corporation standpoint, significantly larger.
Yeah.
What happens when you throw AWOD into the mix?
And what is that split? Mobile and computer?
Oh, but mobile is a high majority.
Mobile, computer, TV?
Mobile and computer is about, look, you can just put it in the same category. So, because you're saying mobile plus iPad, tablets plus your desktop are essentially about 70-75% of our users. So keep one thing in mind, even Disney Plus Hotstar has two sets of users. There are people who pay a subscription fees, and there's a set of users who come every month, every day, also to consume our free offering because there's a set of stuff
what is that
we
split?
put. It's about, I think it's about half and half, right? Like so some of the stuff I'll have to run through, and we should make take some
It's,
of it.
you would say 2 billion for OTT solely.
Yes.
But if you were to add,
So you have TV, movie studios, and
can you
OTT.
just define each one? What is TV?
TV would be essentially all the linear TV channels and distribution.
Okay.
Right.
Distribution is what?
So all the the pay TV, etc. So the fees that people pay for it.
For cable, essentially.
Cable.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. And then ads. So ads in TV, and then you got the OTT business. We talked about that, and movie studios. So the takings on the box office, etc.
Wait. Movie studio is?
So what they are taking in through exhibition.
I mean, for the sake of his listeners, because in India OTT is typically described only as
streaming. Yeah.
streaming, the 2 billion is streaming plus satellite television,
No,
or just streaming.
just streaming.
Okay.
Television is much bigger than streaming. Just
How
to
big
be
is
super
television?
clear.
Just
Television will be at least $8 to $10 billion
Got it.
all in, right? Like with the number of
And
channels.
is that
et
ratio
cetera.
changing? OTT increasing, television
Yeah,
decreasing?
OTT is increasing, but see television is nowhere near declining as precipitously as it is in the US. That is a whole complete.
that's almost like a free fall.
Oh yeah.
Just because I'm not aware and haven't had a cable connection for a long time, what is the pricing of that? Like,
It's like you can pick and choose channels. So earlier there used to be these bouquets, you had to take bouquets, etc. So now they introduced some regulation. Of course, there's still bouquets, but you could pick just like.
but
a
on
channel.
average, how much does a user pay?
I mean, I think I
600
off the top
bucks?
of my head. No, that feels like it's very.
Because then they would go to
very
Netflix
high.
and Hotstar
Yeah,
and all
that
that.
feels
No,
like
that's
it's
the
very
time I
high.
used to have a Tata
So you have
Sky
to keep one thing in mind, like sports, for instance, like one channel HD, because now you've got HD channels and you've got non-HD channels. It's like 19 rupees a month for this. Also, you have to keep one thing in mind. People, I think the concept of paying for television, as in cable TV, is firmly ingrained in.
It's
in the
culture.
minds of- It's like culture. It's it's
color TV.
it's a, literally it's a community. It's like community viewing, right? That is not the case in like thinking about streaming and all of this. So there's a lot of work that we have to do to help develop that category. Just to be clear, right? And that comes from, as you were saying, like entrepreneurs and people who will come in and try and either be great creators or great platforms.
But just a question for you in that, because
okay.
how do you intend to take that 40 million down to how are you going to funnel that down the pyramid? What do you need? Is it more content driven? Is it more?
Yeah.
Is it economies? What is it?
So no, it's a great it's a great thing to talk about. And mind you, it's not 40 million, right? Like, so there's about, depending on what source you believe, let's just say there are about 80 million people in this ecosystem.
No, I'm talking about okay.
No, we should talk about the ecosystem. So it's about 80 million people who pay subscription, right? See, one of the most important things that need to happen is more vernacular, more regional content. That is super key, because increasingly we are seeing that a lot of the content getting consumed is in vernacular languages. So that's going to be very, very key. The other thing is, what I wonder is, historically, all these platforms that we're talking about is known for long form content.
Yeah.
Very, very well built, etc. Why aren't we thinking about short form, right? Like, stuff that's anywhere between 30 seconds to 2 minutes, maybe slightly longer, but 30 seconds, 2 minutes. And the interesting thing is, studies show, I think this was a Bain study or something, consumers of short form content are overwhelmingly male, as much as 75% are male, are 25 years and less. And by the way, a majority of them come from tier 2 cities, and a high majority, I'm talking 65, 70%, come from tier 2 cities and below. That's the demographic there, right? And so if you think of it, there are a couple of things at play here. One, interestingly, smartphones in India, they tend to get set up in a majority of the cases, as much as 2 out of 3 smartphones tend to get set up by the male in the house.
Even though a woman is buying the smartphone?
The point is that women are not. Look, I'm not talking about tier 1 cities. Look, now we're thinking pan-India, right? And you really want to build out the market and everything. I think just making sure that access to smartphones is more democratized. And so all of that, I think, plays out over a period of time, just in terms of price of these smartphones.
And does that
et cetera.
gender change when the content becomes longer? The gender ratio, 75-25?
Not, it doesn't reverse or anything, but yes, it sort of starts to.
So women are
even out of that.
consuming longer form content
Yes.
than males. Is that only in tier 2, 3 or also in tier 1?
No, this is majority I'm talking about is tier 2 and below. But you have to keep one thing in mind. No, the main reason that it's also males is because the access to the smartphone is with the males. And what they do is, what they believe is that their wives or whoever, the women in the family, that they get access to television is like a sacrifice that the male is making. And so they.
That's great cultural.
Very interesting, actually.
Cultural,
Right.
Yeah.
So no, but this has profound implications for anybody wanting to get into business, right? Well, who are you building for? What can we do to get actually more women consuming more of this content on devices that are actually that belong to them, right? And once that starts to unlock, that's, to your point, Vijay, that is when you truly democratize. Like that's where you really, this 80 million becomes much bigger.
Just to summarize, you said 2 billion OTT purely, 8 billion TV related.
8 to 10 billion,
Yeah.
I'll get you the exact numbers.
OTT growing approximately 20-30%.
Yeah.
TV growing at a lower rate than that. If that.
Definitely lower than that.
Yeah. And if it's growing. Hi, I'm Nikhil Kamath. I'd love to know what you thought of the episode. Comment, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.